You're listening to the So Tell Us podcast
with David Feinberg and Jared McCallie.
How was that, David?
That fucking intro music reads as more nasally and Semitic every time we play it. I don't know why. There's some sort of fucked up algorithm going on.
I want to meet the person that made that. I really, really do.
Wait, you don't know who made it? Where did it come from?
I bought it online for like $1. And they were like, if you're going to use it, just fucking pay me $1 and you can use it for whatever you want. And I bet it's a kid or something. I bet it's like a fucking child.
Once it hits big, I know people are going to be, playing that in their cars and stuff like that. That kid's going to have to start with less money. All right. All right. Welcome to So Tell Us podcast with Jared McCallie and David Feinberg. As that awful intro told you that already. Our guest today, he's a real awesome dude. He's a get. He's interned at Conan. Intern at SNL. He's wrote for Weekend Update, passed at the Comedy Cellar, Fox News guest on the Greg Gutfeld Show, Anthony Cumia podcast. He's got a pilot called Collecting. His album, We're All Adults Here, hit number 7 on the iTunes comedy charts. And he's open for Jay Moore and Colin Jost. Please welcome the very funny Kris Fried. If you're in your car, please clap so that people can see it. Like, what's this going to do?
You left out opening for the Gallagher, where in parentheses I put ugh.
I feel like that's got to be on everybody's comedy resume. Like when they're reaching their level, it's like opening for Gallagher. Did you? How did the Gallagher show go though when you opened for him?
Oh, horrible! I forget if how much I've ever mentioned, but he basically stayed on stage from his meet and greet and just never got off. And he was up there for like 3 hours, and the owner, like the show was starting at 8 and he was up there since 5:30. So then we never got to open. He did all of his food smashing shit. And then basically the owner told us to go on and try to like calm the crowd who was asking for their money back, because most of them just got there at 8. And then, so I ended up just throwing all of his food and cans of shit at people and drinks. And then they started throwing shit back at me. And it actually calmed the crowd and they had fun, but they still lost a whole bunch of money. So
that's amazing too. The best part of that story for me is that there's people who pay for a Gallagher meet and greet.
Oh yeah. And there was like that. I think that's why he forgot that it wasn't the real show, is because there were like 100 super fans there that were, they had their whole, what's that called? The tarp, their little, they're wearing their, the first 2-3 rows have ponchos on, and he just thought it was a full house. So I guess he just kept going, and then it was not the show.
God damn it. Everybody's got like a thing in their life, but could you imagine, look, nothing against Gallagher, and you can have the audience that you have, right?
Oh yeah.
But could you imagine you wake up in the morning and you go to your fucking job and all day you're like, I'm going to go see Gallagher late. Like that's the thing that they keep in their back pocket for the whole fucking day.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people, like Tyler, didn't even want to do it. He just thought it was stupid and ridiculous. I was kind of excited just because I saw, I knew his 80s specials and all. I was just like, I don't know, that's fun. It's a nice stage and whatever. And then it just turned into the biggest shit show of it's my my only thing is not so much just like who he is or whatever. It's just that he was very disrespectful. He just forward, blatantly on stage when the owner was trying to get him off. He even said like, oh, I don't care about openers. I want to do, and I was like, okay, well now I'm going to shit on you when I get up there. So.
And actually, if you go through Gallagher, I don't want to do 40 minutes on Gallagher, but I know I could.
I kind of do.
Yeah, but no, if you go through his act though, I don't know what he did when you were when you were I guess opening or closing for him or becoming Gallagher.
I was him at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of his specials. He said a joke that was like, it's like Tomb and Tom, and like he does like a whole thing about like how words are and I was like, this guy's just kind of Carlin who's smashing fruit basically. Like,
yeah, no, I mean it's definitely very gimmicky, but
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, he was up there for 3 hours or so, and
100 years old too.
and yeah, he is now.
Yeah.
I guess he 2 hours and 15 minutes 2 hours and 15 minutes of it
The Jewish version of
was
minutes.
just actual stand-up. I mean, it was, it wasn't just all smashing fruit. So, I mean, he is good at stand-up. It's just that a lot of it is kind of cheesy, quirky little kind of racist jabs and just anything stereotypical, this most easy thing you could think of. But he's good at what he does.
He's racist? Like he does racist stuff? Or he does like just...
Oh, yeah. He's
Here.
known for having a lot of just, again, I'm not saying that you can't do those jokes. I'm just saying that the way he does it, clearly you're just like, oh boy, all right. So, whatever.
You ever do like a really long time on stage? Like I know that every time I push to like the longest I've ever gone, it's like you get to see like you sort of scrape the pain away of your good 30, I imagine in your case. What's the longest you've ever done on stage?
Just an hour. But then I also within the hour is I think when I do those long shows, like 15 minutes of it is keyboard stuff too. So
Right, yeah.
even just at like bars and stuff, I got pretty comfortable with kind of I would say about a half hour is like the good stand up. And then there's 15 minutes of it which is kind of crowd work, can go either way. You try to work with whatever builds, and then just sort of your B stuff if you're trying it out or whatever. And then I do have like 15 minutes of either parodies or kind of musical impressions or just screwing around with people on the keyboard. So there's a lot of that. I've never done a full hour of just real strict good punchlines.
Okay. Who are your musical impressions?
Well, I was doing a thing where the whole overall bit was if people from the past were auditioning on American Idol, they would be told they suck, even though like they were good for their time.
Yeah.
So I did like a Macy Gray.
Oh, okay.
If she went on American Idol and she was like, game changing, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of historical people like Buddy Holly and
Yeah, when I think about history, I think about Buddy Holly. But you did Ben Franklin. He's just got a
Dying of syphilis.
He did die of syphilis. Poor Ben Franklin, even though he was rich.
And then I have an Elton John where nowadays he like barely sings. He just kind of blurts out like the main points of his songs, and he doesn't. It just sounds like I don't know if did you see he did that charity thing a couple of weeks ago that the Zoom
okay
whatever benefit. So then he at the end it was weird because in the beginning he pretended that he didn't have a piano. He was like, oh, I can't sing right now, sorry. And then by the end of the show, someone brought him like a keyboard and he was like, all right, I guess I can do one for you. And he just real quick just goes out of nowhere, just don't let the sun just blurts out and he's not even singing shit.
But he's at home though, so like someone just was like, one of his servants or children just brought him the keyboard.
Well, I don't know. There was a small crew, I guess, that was there for charity thing. But no, he was like, I'm in the only room and I'm in the only house without a piano, and everyone was like, that's bullshit. Sing.
Oh, fuck him, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck that. If you're gonna, my only house without a piano. Oh, give it a fucking rest, man. Oh, God, I hate that shit.
Yeah, I don't fucking deal with it. I that's why I don't want to watch that, because I don't want to watch celebrities in their homes. Like,
it's always awkward. And then we're also realizing that because we see all these non-celebrities that are singing, just because that's all they can do now.
Yeah.
And they're like, we see some really talented people. And then now we're seeing these famous people that kind of suck at home. And it's like, do you even really deserve the fame here?
That's the age old thing of the Seinfeld thing where he says like comedians get no no honor. I mean, and there's like a Mark Twain honor, but they don't get any honors. But he just makes this joke where he's like, there's Brad Pitt. He's handsome. It's like, hey, Brad, stand here, look great, say this. And it's like, let's give this guy an award when comedians are writing new stuff every year.
Yeah.
I say this on the day after Seinfeld brings out a special that I watched in 2012, the Borgata, and he's still doing jokes, the same jokes in 2020. But he's my hero.
Oh yeah, you just saw the new Netflix one?
Yeah, and I'm that's what I was saying. In 2012, he did some of the jokes at the Borgata when I saw him, and it's like I think it was 2012, but either way, those jokes are 8 to 10 years old, some of them, and they're in that new special, dude. So
I also like to think he does the bit about the phrase "it is what it is."
Yeah,
and I like to think that he stole that from Tyler Rothrock, even though there's not a chance at all that happened.
Yeah, I that is one of my favorite open mic things. Is like when people are like, calling someone out and they're like, "That's a George Carlin joke," and I'm like, "That guy's 19 years old. There's like no way he knows that was a George Carlin joke." Like,
or when they say that for real, they're like, "Oh, Carlin stole this from," and like, no, he did. You thought of it 40 years later.
It's like you had the skill to write this beforehand. Do you ever find someone like that? Like, I know that there have been a lot of instances. Like, I used to work as a waiter at one of the Heliums in Philly, and we had like a bunch of times where we like had headliners, and they would like sit around after the show and like smoke weed with us. They were like so fucking different and weird after the show that you were like, I've had a lot of moments where like, I think like one time I was talking to Owen Benjamin, and I went into the back and I got high with a bunch of the other staff members, and then I came back and I couldn't fucking handle it anymore. Like I just like Owen Benjamin was too spicy of a dish to like be able to formulate sentences. I think I walked home. But I don't know, have you ever like found that shit like when you're at a club or something? Like when there's someone that's so fucked up, like or just like so like different from being on stage?
I guess a little bit, only because it depends. If it's like you're expecting something negative and then it turns out more positive than you thought, that's always sort of, well, I guess it's more likely. But my like, I guess my reference is the Bill Burr, just because I like Bill Burr so much. But I saw him at the Comedy Store in LA, and he was like, it was a drop-in situation, and I just happened to be passing him in the hall or whatever, and he was like waiting to go through the thing and up next. And I was like, I don't know, I guess I should say something so he knows I'm like comedian. But I just, I was expecting, because of who he is, to be very like, to not give a shit. I expected him to just be like, he's in his zone and just say like, fuck, I don't care, get out of my way, fuck you, I have to do my thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I sort of just said, I was like, I know you don't need it, but you know, have a great set or something like that. And he like stopped and was like, yeah, thanks a lot, man. What do you like, you a comic? You here? Like just talking nice, like normal tone.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting it, because I just thought it was like it was going to be a brush away kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I always like when aggressive people are then calm and nice.
He didn't do like, dude, get the fuck out of here, dude. He just yells at you for no reason.
I'm about to go on. Get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
That's so good. To see so many comics do that, where it's like, I don't know. I always did I think the funniest thing about Bill Burr is that when he's mad and when he's happy, it's the same impression pretty much. Like it's the same impression in his voice. Well, that's rad. You got to bump elbows with I guess rich and famous. Some comics just seem like they're rich and not famous. He seems like he's rich and famous. He was in The Mandalorian. I just found out Mandalorian
was getting a little Hollywood rubs here and there.
I was actually talking to my brother. He's like a huge Star Wars dude, and he was talking about May the 4th or whatever. And then he was like, "Oh, you'd like the Mandalorian? Bill Burr's in it." I was like, "That's not gonna get me into Star Wars." Bill
Yeah, what the fuck?
He's not doing a set. Like, what's the deal with these droids? You know, like he's
You
just.
guys have this blue drink we're all drinking in here? What the fuck?
He just starts yelling about how Princess Leia shouldn't know shit just because she's royalty. Like, like, oh, what? She can run the galaxy because she's a fucking princess? Okay.
The fucking Senate is controlled by major midichlorian interests in the Outer Rim, and that's fucked up.
He just brings his whole act into it, but he's just doing he's like, hardest job is a stormtrooper. Be a stormtrooper. You're gonna die. He's just like,
That's like when Sam Morrill and Goldman were in the Joker.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was like, "You would love it because there's real comedians in it, and that's really cool because you're a comedian too." And I was like, "That's not the point of the fucking movie, though.
Yeah.
That's like watching fucking Cool Runnings for like the scenes where they eat lunch or some shit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't know why."
Or
Do you ever have
just because John Candy was in Second City, it's like we should love.
Yeah. Chris, do you ever have that? Like, do you ever have like when someone like finds out that like you're a comedian and shit, like at a party or something, and you're like, like when someone has to like, I guess any of us could answer this, but like the thin connection points that they have, to, like,
well, yeah, I mean,
try
obviously
to
the number one thing is, well, besides like tell us a joke or what's your joke or something. Besides that, the other big thing is like they say that they've been wanting to do it, or you know, they say like sometimes I was thinking about this. I thought this would be funny, and then they run it past you, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, it could work maybe if you just try, you know, whatever.
hear me out.
Yeah.
I'm farting in front of my wife. You're like, all right, dude. Yeah.
I've got this funny Condoleezza Rice impression I've been doing since 2004. I thought it'd be funny. Okay? Watch, check this out, okay? I'm Condoleezza Rice, but I'm on the Titanic, okay? Here we go. You ready for this shit? Buddy, get over here. I'm doing a Condoleezza Rice thing. He's a comedian. I love that shit.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that when it's like the impression comedian where they're like, I take it to a different thing, and it's like you're just doing jazz.
Yeah. It's like,
what about have you guys experienced a lot of like, you know, just because like, you know, it's a lot of open mics or just shows that, you know, there's not every show has like known people or whatever. If you invite friends and then your friends or whoever, you know, is supporting you, they'll critique you as if that you're expected to be on the level of all the Netflix things that they see. You know, like I've had so many people say like, yeah, no, that one's really, you should try to like, you know how Dave Chappelle does this, like you should try to do that. You should be funny like that. And you're like, yeah, and I know that's the goal. Trying to be funny. It's sort of you got to figure out, I guess, how to do that.
I got roped into like going to something that I worked with, and it was like a lull in the conversation, and I was like, I can feel this. It's coming. Like I just was like a sixth sense, and someone's like, Jared does comedy, right? Don't you, Jared? And I was like, yeah. And I swear to God, dude, I'll regard it like top 10 dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. This guy goes, then we separate, like we're at this thing, it's just me and him, and he goes, oh, comedy, man, I love comedy. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, tell me a joke. And I was like, okay. So I told him whatever joke, you know, like that I had. And he goes, I like The Office. You ever do stuff like The Office?
Yeah.
And I was like, I wait for an audience member to say something, and I look into a camera.
And then we can all watch The Office. Do you know what that is? That's just people making shitty conversation again. Because even if you weren't a comedian, someone would be like, "So you work in a fucking, you know, you work at like a, you know, I heard that you work at an ice cream factory." Yeah, I like The Office. I feel like that's the thing about modern conversation, though, is that everyone he doesn't give a shit that you're a fucking comedian. He just wants to talk about The Office.
He wants to incorporate it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
100%. That's
also another level.
Every conversation, though. Let's be honest, though. That's pretty much every conversation we're having with anybody at this point. It's like,
I guess so, yeah.
I know.
But
Just
it's like,
asking.
don't-
Just whatever the next thing is on, the next bingeable show or something. Of the
Yeah.
day.
Oh, that's
Uh,
like. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say the next level of it is when not themselves are funny, but when they claim that their kid is gonna be a comedian. They're like, oh, my kid wants to be. He's so funny. He does this, and then it's just like you're just doing like third level Ray Romano humor about your kid.
My kid.
It's like, oh yeah, he sounds like a regular kid. Actually, it's not that funny. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I can't. When anybody talks about their
I gotta
kid,
beat the shit out of this kid. You know?
anybody talking
No, I
about
gotta
their
do
kid,
that.
it's lying.
Yeah.
They're lying like times 10. They're building
Oh
their
my
kid
God.
up. They're lying. Like, yeah, no. Yeah, he's gonna be a great baseball player. It's like, okay, he's 1 in a million from fucking Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Really? Like, okay, whatever. But actually, that tracks though, because most baseball players come from like the most shit towns anyway.
One time, my mom once. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead if you want to.
Oh, no, I was just saying baseball. They would come. I'd be like, if your kid lives in the Dominican, maybe he has a chance. Right now, he's just 1 of a billion. But
Using a fucking milk carton as a glove, kind of a deal. You know, that level.
You're sending them down there to get better. You're just you're like, how they like switch high schools for kids. Like in basketball, you just send your kid to the Dominican Republic.
that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna adopt a kid from Dominican that's already roiding, and I'm gonna start telling people. I'm gonna start telling people like, oh, my kid's gonna be a baseball player, and then I'll be able to like prove it. I'll have all the facts ready to go.
There's a great fucking Galifianakis joke when he like did stand up. It's amazing, and he just goes, "I want to move to another country and become a cab driver." That is such a good joke. Oh man.
I remember one of the most embarrassing nights of my fucking life was I bombed a show. I know that Jared hates improv, but we can get into it.
I don't hate it. But I don't hate it. I despise it.
I did the Detroit Improv Festival once, and I bombed the show out completely. Like, it was one of the worst shows I ever had.
It was you and then other people that also bombed? Or?
Yeah, it was me and my whole team, and we went up at there's a really great venue up there called the Loving Touch, and we were playing for like the most people I've ever seen, and it's like a rock club, and we were playing for like 400 people. The 2 teams went up before us, fucking destroyed the place. We're closing out the ticket, and then my fucking we just like couldn't get it together, and then I got a call from my mom, and she into the phone said in a Jewish mom voice, she was like, David, I just wanted to say that before you go up tonight, you are so gifted at this. And I was like, oh, I already bombed out the fucking show. Like, no one was talking to us. And then you just have to drive 12 hours back to Philadelphia with like the worst show you've ever done in your back pocket.
That's the best feeling. Anytime, yeah. It's funny because it's like the opposite for me. I was just telling my brother this the other day, but he, like, my dad, we ate lunch together, and he goes, "What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "I have a show at the Church of Satire Comedy Club in Hanover." And he goes, "Ooh, that's a hike." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Just for comedy?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You get paid?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that's great."
I thought you were going to say no.
He called me later, like minutes before I go on stage. He calls me, and I'm like, he never calls me like this. Like, this must be an emergency. And I run outside. I'm like, "Hold on 1 second. Hold on." I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Where are you?" It's like, dude. Wait. He goes, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Dude, I told you I have a set at that comedy thing tonight." And he goes, "Man, you're real into this thing, aren't you?"
Oh,
Dude. You thought you were gonna like quit before the show.
Oh, 100%. I told him one time who I was opening for, and I was like, yeah, I'm opening and hosting this show thing. And he goes, maybe I'll come to that. How much is it? And I said, $25. And he goes, for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever do that, Chris? Like where you hit like I like one of those social bottoms. Do you know what I mean? Like where you're like it couldn't possibly be any worse than this ever.
Yeah, the Kill Tony that I was on was like that, because afterward, I mean, it's, you know, saving grace is no one cares. They're just glad it's not them. And they don't, you know, they don't know you. They don't know your face. So if a week goes by, everyone's going to forget. But at the same time, that night, you know, it just feels like shit, because it was like a crowded room, Comedy Store, you know, Joe Rogan and Dom Irera are the guest judges. And, you know, it'd be one thing if like I prepared and then like I tried my best and it just sucked. But it was like, you know, I didn't know what it was. I was just told as I was walking on the stage, like, you have a minute. And so I made bad decisions and it didn't go well. And then you just have to mingle into the crowd knowing that everyone is like, I don't want to be associated with that guy.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to talk to the famous people or whatever.
You can't sit here.
Yeah, it's pretty much the feeling. But yeah, the drive home is like the bad part. I was good at like I didn't want to escape and like just like leave without anyone seeing me. I've told myself, I'm gonna own this. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna mingle. I want everyone to know that like I'm in good spirits. And you know, I talked to like Hinchcliffe afterward, and I mean, no one gives a shit, but you just try to like not let it bother you. And then but then on the drive home is when you're just like, this is not like this is like kill yourself material here.
Suicide silence. You know?
I wish I could just show anybody that embarrassment of bombing in front of people who the only thing that they don't want to do is bomb, and you do it, and it gives them the confidence to be better, and they're just looking at you like a cretin. It's like, it's amazing.
But then that's what's good for the future, because you sort of like I developed more of a look that you look like I don't give a shit. I'm gonna fucking do my thing and then leave. So it's kind of helped, only because I like that approach where I got better at crowd work, because I just have more of a natural not caring now for how it goes.
Yeah, you do crowd work really well. You did when you did a Craigslist comedy show. I remember you like I don't know. Yeah, what did you say to that guy? You were like something about things he never hears. That was like my favorite part.
Oh yeah, that was I was proud of that one.
Yeah,
most of it.
I was going to ask Chris about that, like about you. Oh, sorry, my internet's fucked up.
I could hear it, but it was frozen for a little bit. But
yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Same on my end. What I was gonna ask you was about like, did you develop that like over the course of time? Like, was your early shit that, or was it like not? I mean, you have sort of like a nonchalant persona, it seems, on stage, right?
It definitely it developed only because, you know, at first you just try to get better at remembering your bullet points in your head and knowing how to say everything that you want. So you're just happy to get through your planned punchlines. But then when things go awry and you get more confident, or just it sort of kind of happens similar. So you sort of, it looks like on the spot crowd work, but really you're doing something that you know has worked before when you handle it whatever way. But like things like the Craigslist show, it's kind of like a magic trick where I like when a lot of people go before me, because then they give me more material to comment on. So really, I'm just sort of putting together planted things in my head of like what I'm going to say or make fun of. And then when I get up there, you kind of go around and you look like you're doing it on the spot, but really you're just trying to remember all the stuff you've thought of all night.
Oh yeah.
And then while doing that, you intertwine the actual jokes that you wrote. But no, the one with that guy, where I said because he yelled at me for repeating jokes or repeating, or someone already said something.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, I'm sorry, you want me to say things you've never heard before, like pleasure to meet you, or I do was
that's the best one. I do. That's so good. And it's funny too because that guy, he was a guest on the first one, or a judge on the first one, and then a judge on the second one, and he just was like, "Oh, I love comedy." Blah blah blah. And then support. Like a week or two later, he came to the open mic. So now he's like an open mic audience member, which is so funny to put yourself through that. And he goes, "Man, that guy at the end, Chris, was really good." And I was like, yeah, he's on some stuff. I was like, I just saw he was on the Greg Gutfeld show. And he goes,
oh yeah, because he was a big Fox guy.
It's like, I love Gutfeld. Like, that's another thing you don't hear.
Oh, two big swings in a person's life: trying to be an open mic audience member and enjoying a lot of Fox News shows, like being a big enough fan that you're like, I love fucking Gutfeld, and I love sitting in the audience while people work out new material.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, he's an open mic heckler. He's like, I'm gonna try out a few new heckles tonight. We'll see.
He did. He had one of the best heckles I've ever heard. He's like an old man, so he's trying to take a picture of our friend Joe. You know, Joey Tepedino. Shout out Joey Tepedino, great comic. He's trying to take a picture of Joey Tepedino from, no lie, 70 feet away, and the flash goes off, and Joey's like, Rob, how old are you? You're taking photos with the flash still? And he goes, why are you taking my photo? And he goes, I'm just uploading it to meganslaw.com. And I was like, oh,
is it real slow?
Yeah, it was, the delivery was amazing.
Holy shit.
He should have saved that one for Jeremy.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good one.
That would have looked better.
So I was going to ask you, actually, you kind of touched on it before. You said you did some music stuff. So, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of comedy, like, for me personally, came from when I was a kid, stuff that happened, blah, blah, blah. So, like, you like, obviously, music stuff. So were you, like, a Weird Al fan like that? Was it, like...
Not really, only because that kind of stuff seemed... I mean, I would laugh, and it was, you know, kind of like Gallagher. Like, it's its own thing, and not for me, but whatever. And but respect whatever people do as their thing. But I was never really into like trying to write those kind of songs. Mm-hmm. But see, what I liked was musically like Adam Sandler and like Dana Carvey, who would do, you know, they would do stand up, but then they also then bring out a guitar or a piano and do like, you know, Chopping Broccoli or.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Chopping Broccoli.
He does or Dana Carvey just has that one guitar joke where he talks about how musicians are always like when they're not singing, they don't know, they try to look cool and like look at people, and then he just does the strumming thing, and then he just goes or no, the magic trick when changing chords. So he's like dun dun dun, dun, and then he looks and he goes dun 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 dun. That's awesome. So those kind of things, I was like, if I could ever think of how I could just fuck around musically and get that much of a, you know, but
that is a feat that I'm going to give you that you've pulled off. But anytime I'm at a show or whatever, and I just see that guitar and someone's like, he's on the bill, I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Like,
yeah.
Like mentally prepare yourself.
Because that's like, yeah, I decided very early on, I don't want to be the guy that is sort of using it as a crutch. Like I want to get good and comfortable at just holding a microphone. Yeah. And then, you know, then I'll be able to try to, you know, infiltrate it with a few little cheap things here and there that just fun for me. So right. That's like for the album. For the album, I brought out like a whole band and did, you know, a parody song, and I just it's just more of a concert vibe that, like, I think my overall goal in life would to be like to be able to tour and be like a Sandler, that just you get to come out and screw around as if you're a rock star, but you don't have to actually be like artistic and good with lyrics. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to I don't want to perform with a band and lug your equipment everywhere, and, you know.
Right.
But
I think that fucking album of his, 100% Fresh. People, when that album was coming out,
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like, this album's gonna suck ass. And then
Yeah.
somebody was like, dude, give it like another chance. And I jumped back in on it, and that shit, he's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's like
shit on that album is amazing.
I get so jealous because you get such quick, like I was like dying laughing at certain points. I was watching it with a friend, and we used to love like the 1995 Sandler shit. So I get so jealous because he'll put premises that, like, you know, if I think of something similar, I spend all day trying to think about how I would perform it on stage, and then it's just like mediocre. And then he takes that premise and puts a quirky little musical thing on it, and it's a 15-second bit, and it's so funny. And I just,
fucking destroys.
I mean,
that's a full hour of just like great, quick premise, awesome things.
Yeah. I mean, that album that he did, the first one with the Hanukkah song on it. I don't know. Is that all? They're all Laugh at You or whatever it is. Either way.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all Laugh at You or what the hell happened to me.
Yeah, and I remember
what the hell happened to me. That's him holding the train as a baby.
Yeah.
I remember last Christmas, Hanukkah time, like that song being played, and
thank you, Jared.
Sorry. Well, I apologize. Hanukkah was going on, and hearing that song, and I remember being like, I'm gonna Google, is Rod Carew Jewish? Like, that's how, And there's like articles about how he wasn't Jewish and it was like a mistake or something like that. And I'm like, that's how much that dude influenced popular culture, that I'm Googling a baseball player I'd never heard of.
Yeah, I was in like 5th and 6th grade, and I remember not Googling, but just asking or trying to figure out. I had to find out like who half of the people were in the song.
From Shanana.
But I still laughed as if I knew all these people. It was like there's something about it that was so good.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else like that, Chris? Like shit that was like super early influence stuff. Like when I was little, I watched The Producers all the time with my dad, and I was like, I don't know. Fuck off, Jared. Fuck off, man.
No, that's hilarious.
It's fine.
No, I'm not even.
Yeah, spit take? Spit take and not talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's so good. I'm sorry. That's really funny. That's really funny that you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's legit. Like that was the thing though, was that before Jared made it anti-Semitic spit take, I was gonna ask Chris about,
I love Mel Brooks. Come on.
Oh yeah. The Jews are on the phone, Jared. I could get the Jewish Council on the phone right now behind the Hollywood H, and they would come in with their task force and they'd get you right now. Okay? So don't you forget that, all right? Anyway.
David got the call before coronavirus too.
Yeah.
You were like, don't go outside. I was thinking about like I love having conversations like that. Like I remember that one of the first big things that I really shared with my dad, that was like, he was like, don't tell anybody because this is not going to be appropriate for your age. But we were going to watch this movie together. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tax loopholes. He was like, here's how you skim money off the top of the organization out of the tailoring businesses that you run. But like, was there early shit where you like shared something with a family member that you were like, I don't think I totally understand this?
Well, I mean, my brother was goofy and funny. Like I guess that's sort of where I got the Sandler albums and stuff, because he was 2 years older, and so I was all like, I listened to the Jerky Boys and like dumb shit that they would find. But as far as just my own interest and endeavors, my parents they didn't like movies or music. They didn't really have, they didn't go to concerts. They didn't have albums around. They just kind of worked at businesses, and like that was it. So my sort of like weird excursion into like finding my way was, I noticed, I knew who Jim Carrey was from Ace Ventura, and I loved that. And then I found out that he was on this In Living Color show, and on I forget what channel, but they they would rerun In Living Color at 1 a.m. And I somehow or another decided that I would, like, you know, my parents would yell at you to go to bed at like 11 or whatever in, middle school.
wow.
And so I would eventually like go to bed at 11, and then I would sneak downstairs at 1 a.m. to watch In Living Color. And I just loved, like, I thought Damon Wayans and Jim Carrey were just amazing. And it's like the weirdest influence, because I didn't even realize it at the time, because I don't come from that culture, because it was so influential with the, it was like the black SNL or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't even look at it like that. I just thought it was really clever and awesome writing and characters. And so I sort of based my interest in sketch comedy on In Living Color. And then later on, again, staying up late for the later, like late 90s, when SNL kind of came back with Will Ferrell and all that. So that's my sort of influence story, is like I got influenced by like Eddie Murphy and In Living Color somehow. And then I became like not a black comedy. But
If In Living Color was the black SNL, what was Mad TV?
that's like for autistic,
Oh my
or like I
No.
don't know.
It had Frank Caliendo. That's it. So you mentioned Eddie Murphy. So we got one of your top three. Who's the other two?
I mean, of all time, I mean, you mean just for me, or who do I put on the top?
Oh no, just you. Yeah, I don't. Mount Rushmore is stupid. It's fine.
Just for me, I would probably say Bill Burr, Eddie Murphy, and probably either a Norm Macdonald later on, or just like the early influence, kind of like a Sandler or Carvey.
Gotcha. That's a good that's a good couple right there, though.
It's a mix. It's a mix of
yeah,
all aspects that I attempted.
So you think Eddie Murphy, Norm, and then Burr, or is Burr? I mean, time-wise.
In the timeline, I would say George Carlin, then Eddie Murphy, then like a Dana Carvey or Sandler, and then Bill Burr, because the Bill Burr and CK thing kind of happened in 06, 07 for me. So
I saw Carlin when I was a kid, like a really young kid. I asked my parents, and they're like, "You can go, just don't repeat anything."
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, he opened with, you know what people don't talk about anymore? Pussy farts. And I just remember being like,
holy shit.
And it was in Reading. So Chris knows Reading, but Reading is surrounded by it's red. You know what I mean? It's a lot of hicks. And he did something about the NRA. And I remember two guys in the back were like, "Fuck this, fuck you, George Carlin," and they left. They screamed, "Fuck you, George Carlin." And
I had a George Carlin show.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What about this? Because growing up, we see movies kind of first, and then at least probably not now, but in the 90s or early 2000s, you grow up and you hear about famous movies or TV shows, and then you don't really realize till later that you can actually, these people come from stand-up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you should start or whatever. But what about influences of just, because I grew up with Chevy Chase and Jim Carrey and Bill Murray and, that kind of thing. Again, Sandler. And then later on, you find out some of these people actually did stand-up. How the hell do you get into that? So it's what are the influences on that end? Or were you just mostly Comedy Central stand-up type influence?
David, take it.
I would say that it was sort of an interesting thing, because I remember the things that really got me into comedy for a lot of it was really early internet video stuff, but then there was a network about that actually played out in a lot ways. I remember
your hero was Pootie Pie, and then
my hero was Pootie Pie. I was a big Tay Zonday fan, and I still think his really pretty good. I remember because early college humor were a lot of people that don't necessarily influence my stand-up, but definitely influence just like comedic thinking. Like they were doing a lot of like feature work at the time. And I remember that's how I heard about like Picnic Face and a lot of stuff from Canada. And then you would like go and research that person and get into their stuff. And then I heard about like Henry Zabrowski through College Humor because Murder Fist got featured on there and stuff like that. And it became this thing of like this is a very privileged sentence, but every kid at my middle school was given a laptop, and so we all like we were all jacking off, but we also were like we were all researching, like there was like an economy of comedy videos. Like if you found something that was really fucking funny, you were like the king for the day. And so we would like bring in shit, and if you found something first, it was like your thing. And then people would like have you ever read that thing where people are like, now it's memes, but it used to be just standing around in a circle and quoting Anchorman to each other?
Yeah.
That's really
Like
good.
like
That's kind of like my honest, actual bitterness of life right now is just the fact that I see girls just scrolling through memes for hours and dying laughing. And I just remember thinking like all these memes combined should be someone putting together like a funny script or like something. But now it's just like, oh, here's a funny joke, here's a funny thing, and you're just like, oh boy.
Like that.
Do you think there's something about that, Chris? Like I would say that most comedy now, like if I'm making a video or like a stupid sketch or something, like I guess I should point this at you. When you're making a video or something, are you looking for it to be like a bite-sized thing? Because the attention span is like
depends what it is. There's a lot of time. I mean, I'm trying more now to like do, I guess, content. I don't like to say that, but I'm thinking more of like, oh, I actually should be more productive and get some, but yeah, for the longest time, it's like, if my instinct is to make more of something, whereas now I'm trying to get better at just saying, you know what, it's just a funny joke, just post it, as opposed to like turn it into a sketch or even, when I try to do like a funny Instagram video, it'll be like this 3-minute thing for me. And then I'm just like, just stop doing it. Just make it 15 seconds. And, so.
I think that's where going. People want, like, I think like the hour is a lot,
Oh yeah. I mean,
they're going to still do it. It's going to be great. But like, I think like those scaled down videos, like the Andrew Scholl stuff where he does like the caption at the bottom and things like that. It's like,
the downside I think is that just because I'm someone who likes to put together like a script, or so like a goal of mine would be to sell a script or produce a feature movie. And so it takes away from that goal, because a lot of, if I look through all my notes and I'm just posting little Twitter jokes or things like that, then I sort of forget to be productive, where I should be compiling a bunch of shit that could go into a feature but then, and it also gets discouraging, because if you save a joke that you think is like, oh, this will be a really funny plot for an episode of something, and then, you eventually see a joke that a famous comedian posts or something that's much quicker, but now it's like, okay, now if I do that, they're going to think I stole it from him. So there's no one sort of saving jokes. It's just any joke you think of, there's in a day, there's going to be 20 examples online anyway. So I don't know.
That's my favorite thing about, kind of like, to go back to the question from before, but like when I was a kid, I just skateboarded and I watched like Comedy Central. So like I came home and I just like went in my room because my parents were watching like a Sean Connery movie. I didn't care. You know what I mean? So like anything that got me further away from them was like, hey, you want a TV in your room? But I remember,
you want another laptop to jerk off on?
I'm trying to smash your mother downstairs over the kitchenette. So if you could go upstairs and hang out in your room, that'd be great.
I'm pretty sure my parents never had sex. Well, my stepmom and dad. But anyway, is that what you said? That they were bending him? I didn't hear that right. Maybe.
Yeah, I said I want to repeat it just for the audience at home, that your dad was banging your mom over the kitchenette
Yeah.
In some regard.
That's
In
fine.
one form or another. That's the
Oh,
kind of person that.
I'm sorry. I heard Nanette. I thought we were talking about horrible comments again.
Oh,
Go on.
Your dad was so inspired by Nanette that he fucked your mom.
this is how awful I am. Someone once told me to watch Nanette, and they're like, "You'll really like it. It's really good." And I was like, "Okay." And I waited a week, and then I like texted them back, and I was like, "Hey, I watched that Tig Notaro thing you were talking about," and they were like, "Hey, asshole." Actually, yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. I actually haven't even seen it yet. I just make fun of it because
I
it's a
didn't
reference. But
Yeah.
again, do what works for you and whatever.
Yeah. But back to my parents having sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
Right.
So I remember like watching whatever, like I watched like the CKY, which became Jackass and like all that stuff. You could do this stuff with your friends. So I would do that. But then I would watch so much Comedy Central. But I think the thing that inspired me was have you ever seen Insomniac with Dave Attell?
Oh yeah.
That was like the best show to me because it was like he was doing stand-up and being so funny. So it had the Seinfeld aspect of like the stand-up at the beginning or the end or whatever. And then in the middle, he was just talking to regular people and he was so quick.
Yeah, it was very ahead of its time as far as just a guy that has a show and you go out and talk to people but it's not a sit down show.
He was once in Philadelphia and he went to Love Park and there was a bunch of bike riders and like BMX guys and they were like, yeah, we come here at night because the skateboarders won't let us be here during the day. And then there was a couple skateboarders there together and Dave Attell gets them together and he goes, guys, bike riders, skateboarders, we can all agree we hate motherfuckers on unicycles. like so good. And I was like, that's what I want to be, where it's like that you're just like a conversational comedian kind of deal. But
my favorite Attell joke was at the cell. I mean, I don't even know if this was on any special or anything that he did. I just remember it because
because you're past at the Comedy Cellar? Yeah, that's got to be feel great.
No, this was in like 06 or something, so it was way before. But it was like Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson were big at the time, or whatever that show was, and he was like, "Yeah, everyone's got their Jessica Simpson fantasy. Mine is, hey Jessica, why don't you hold your sister so I can kick her in the fucking teeth," or like something just so weird about her sister Ashley. About kicking her in the teeth. And I remember just because I think about it now and I could see like, anyone doing that at an open mic and like it's funny, but it's not great. It's just but for some reason in like the way you present yourself and everything else, certain jokes, people like die laughing over that kind of thing if you just develop like a charisma of some kind.
All right, so I was going to ask you this before we head on out of here. There's one thing, I don't think we touched on this. If there's one thing you can get rid of in comedy, David and I have agreed this is like a good question. Like one thing you can get rid of in comedy, it doesn't have to be a person, it can be a subject, it can be whatever.
Like
I got it. I got it already.
He's just going to say Nanette.
No. I would say apologizing, and especially during the performance.
Yeah.
Like not even so much like later on, like you put out a statement, whatever. Sometimes you might have to do that. But I've noticed that there's this thing now that people are trying to be lovable. Like with like on SNL, they had that weird thing when Trump won where Kate McKinnon was just playing the piano and it was like a somber, like sad moment. Like I don't know, like that kind of stuff. And then just recently, Brad Pitt, when he played Fauci, like he's doing the Fauci impression and whatever. It's funny. You make references of shit, and then he takes his wig off and he's like, "But seriously, thank you, Dr. Fauci, for all that you do." It's like, stop it. What are you doing? You ruined the sketch. Like we get it, So there's this weird thing in comedy where we feel like, or like the popular culture PC thing now feels like we can make jokes, but then as long as we go, "Oh, but just so you know, we're joking, everyone." Like, no, that's South Park doesn't do that. Colin Quinn doesn't do that. You're not. It's not good for the business. That's all.
The person who should be apologizing is Alec Baldwin for that awful Trump impression that is not anything the way Trump doesn't go, like, I've never seen Trump do that. And everyone's like, it's so spot on. I'm like, no, he should be apologizing.
And
it's sort of wrong. Sorry, Chris.
What was that? Oh,
keep it rocking.
I was gonna say, like, no matter what side you're on of an issue, the joke is supposed to be like Dana Carvey was awesome at doing like George H.W. Bush. Like you make it a cartoon and you do whatever, you have fun with it. The second that you can tell that someone's doing an impression based on the fact that they hate the person, it's not funny. It's just it's you're looking for applause and not laughing. So then I don't like that, but.
No, that makes sense.
Harvey was sweet.
It's true. It's like David said I hated Mel Brooks, but like anytime someone does like a Jewish person does something that's anti-Semitic, there's so much comedy to it because there's like, you know what I mean? But like I see what you're saying. Like he just hates him. He just hates Trump. He's just like trying to make him doofus. So.
I mean, even like Chevy Chase didn't like Gerald Ford's politics, but he did it in a charismatic way. He found one thing that he stumbles and bumbles and
how amazing is that? That was a problem in this day and age. That Gerald Ford was a problem.
Oh, Gerald Ford, he's horrible. I hate his agricultural policies.
Oh man. Well,
I also can't believe. So Seth Meyers was a cast member on SNL, and his impression of Trump now is like not even it's just him going like, you're telling me the best impression you can do is just going, "Hi, I'm Donald Trump." Oh. It's like that's not the impression. Like, dude, you can do something a little.
There's a really good Eli Gold does a really good one where it's Trump and fast forward. And he's like, he does the voice and he's like, it's really good.
Yeah.
But before we get off on a tangent about Donnie John, I think we've hit our mark. This has been great. This is really fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for doing it.
I know things are a little weird right now, but is there anywhere we can catch you? You have any dates coming up or anything that haven't been postponed?
Anything you want to plug?
I'm just plugging the pilot. So if you want to see the trailer, you can go to collectingseries.com. It's called Collecting because it's a guy milking the unemployment system, which is relevant now, thankfully. So, well, I guess not thankfully, but selfishly, thankfully. Collectingseries.com. We got Tyrus on it, who's a WWE guy, and he's on Fox News as well.
Oh, I was going to ask you. All right. I didn't know who that was. I was like, am I missing something? But yeah, that's awesome.
Yep,
that's
a big dude. We got La Bamba and some people from the Conan band are doing the music for it. Still, so that's a little fun fact for comedy people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Probably towards fall, everything will be together, and we'll have like a Arts Quest debut or something.
Cool. Well, thanks, Chris. Check out collectingseries.com. His albums is still available. We're all adults here, and hopefully when comedy returns, you can check him out in the Lehigh Valley area or at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah, and follow Kris.Fried on Instagram for all my great content that I will be filming and putting out ASAP.
All the cool 1-second sketches that we're all supposed to make now.
All my feature films that are now 20 seconds will be highlighted.
All my vaping videos.
Thanks for coming, Chris. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks for
Thank you.